Well, hey gang, how you doing? It's Jonathan again from Tailhunter International down here in La Paz, Baja Mexico, and it's time once again for the Mexican Minute La Paz Video Fishing Report, and this is going to cover all of the fishing action for this past week, the 5th through the 12th of November 2017. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for taking the time to check in on us. Take a look at the information below and please subscribe. Well, you know, all things must come to an end, and we've just finished our 22nd season down here in La Paz, and we've just had 9 months of the best fishing we've seen in a long time. El Nino disappeared, things got back to normal. If you came down fishing this year, especially these last 3 months, you know that fishing has just been totally jacked off the hook, and we've had some incredible bites. Hope everybody had a good time, but we're already looking at 2018 because things are pretty much tapered off. We've gone from 20 to 50 fishermen a day to really just a handful right now, so there's not a lot of photos to bring you or show you this week because there just simply aren't that many people fishing. From November to about April of next year, that's our off season. And here's why. Winds are already increasing. It's getting pretty darn rough out there. These northern winds sweep down the Sea of Cortez. They bring a lot of waves. The air temperatures change. The ocean temperatures change. And it gets a lot harder to fish out there, especially with us, like you're fishing out of pangas. Most of our fishing is close to shore anyway, but being in a panga is probably not the best place to be when you've got waves that are bigger than pangas. And you know, the last 2 weeks, as a matter of fact, we finally had a chance to go out ourselves, and you know, we had some good fishing. There's still some tuna, there's still some dorado around, but with these bigger waves and bigger winds, I'll tell you what, one day we fished out of La Paz this past week. It took us an hour just to get out of the bay, and that's not a big bay. If you've been down here before, you know that La Paz Bay isn't very big, but the waves are so big and the winds hadn't even started yet. It took us an hour just to get out of the bay. It took us another hour to find bait, and then when we got to the spot, the waves were larger than the panga, and then the wind started. It was really tough fishing. You know, fishing here is supposed to be fun. It's close to shore. We don't do a lot of trolling. We don't have to go out very far. When you've got waves bigger than the panga, it's an endurance thing. We got beat up. We got rocked. Fortunately, I was with some good folks and good friends who fish a lot, so we had a good time out there. But overall, we ended up back at Mogote inside the bay, and there were still whitecaps in there. We ended up with, you know, 2 small little dorado and a sierra, and you know, we called it a day and went in, drank beer, and had a good time on the beach with some good friends. But that's the way it is right now, and there's no way to tell if it's going to be a windy day or if it's going to be a calm day, and we'll go through 3 days of wind, then 2 days of calm, then 1 day of strong winds. So, you know, there's not a lot of fishing going on from November to April. That's our off season, and the winds are getting stronger and stronger. They sweep down the Sea of Cortez, and they bring these northern winds. Water temperatures start dropping, air temperatures drop. The waters have gone from like 85 degrees, and right now they're running 80, 79. They're changing quite rapidly. It's not quite so blue anymore. The waters are getting stirred up. You're seeing some patches of green, and the complexion of the fishing is changing as well. Not so many blue water species, but more of the cold water species, and that's what we're seeing right now. More pargo, more cabrilla, some bonita, some amberjack, more sierra, and these are the kind of fish we see when the waters are colder. On the other side of that, with the colder water, we might see some bigger amberjack, maybe the yellowtail will start coming in, but the whole complexion of the fishing changes as we get into the off season. Let's talk about some specifics. If you're going to fish right now, I'd probably say fish with our Las Arenas fleet, because at least, you know, we've got an hour drive over to Muertos Bay, but even if the winds are blowing, at least it's a little more protected, and that makes all the difference in the world. We're not going very far, but the winds may prevent us from getting too far offshore anyway, so most of the fishing is going to be confined to the inshore areas. But there's still some pargo, there's still some cabrilla, there's still some scattered tuna and dorado around, but here's the hard thing, is that with the big waves, it's harder to get the bait because the waves are crashing right close to shore, right in the rocky and the sandy areas where the bait congregates. So with these bigger waves, bigger winds, more turbulence, the bait gets scattered, so it's harder to get a hold of some of this live bait. So that affects our fishing as well. So if you're going to fish in the next couple weeks, you're thinking about coming down, be ready, because it might be windy, might be colder. Even my captains, I mean, you see our guys, and usually we're in shorts and flip-flops, but out on the boats right now, my captains are already wearing long clothes, they're wearing full slickers, they've got their rain gear on, basically. Our tourists and our fishermen are thinking, boy, that's kind of crazy because it's so warm. But it can be a little rough out there, so be prepared for that, and be prepared for the fact that the fishing may change and that you're probably going to fish with our Las Arenas Muertos Bay fleet. For La Paz, you know, the winds are already too rough. Even when the winds aren't blowing, up and down the Sea of Cortez, at some place it's blowing, so it's driving these huge swells in. If you've been down with us before, you know how calm La Paz Bay can be. It's like a lake out there most times, but during the wintertime, heck, this last week there were a couple of days where the swells were so big, there were white caps in the bay, and the waves were crashing so hard that it was driving spray onto the cars driving up and down the waterfront. It's a whole different animal during this time of the year, and it's going to get stronger and stronger as we get into the winter months. So we've pretty much shut down most of our La Paz fishing unless somebody specifically wants to go out of that area. Not many fishermen out there. As I said, we've gone from dozens a day to just a handful right now, and that's going to be like that for the next couple of months. So, there's not many photos to show you as well, but take a look at what we've got. There's still some fishing out there, and that's going to wrap it up for our La Paz fishing report for this week. That's the 5th to the 12th of November, 2017. Looking forward to having you down. Get a hold of us if you're thinking about coming down for 2018, because we're already booking real strong. We've had such a great season that if you want to come down next year, a lot of folks are already giving us dates for next year. So get a hold of us, check in with us, make sure we get you your captain and the hotels you want, and we'll look forward to another great season. But thanks for checking in. You have yourself a great week. This is Jonathan for your Mexican Minute La Paz Video Fishing Report. You take care.